Possibly a new chapter for North Melbourne, an exciting new chapter, but the story was Carlton.
Yeah, it was. I was there yesterday covering this game, TJ. They started okay and they just missed some absolute shockers. They should have probably been 3 or 4 goals up in the first quarter. They weren't.
Emotional.
And there was a lot of upset people. There was a lot of Bronx cheers, boos at half-time, boos at three-quarter time. Vossi went really hard at his midfield group at three-quarter time. But they're now
What did you make of that, Lordo, when you see this?
Yeah, he is saying to somebody, play your beat role.
Yeah.
So he's questioning someone within the midfield group who that is. Some are saying it was young Jackson Binns, who's a wingman there at the club. I'm not exactly sure on that, but he seems to be the one in the firing line of it. But the disappointing part is they've had Essendon, West Coast and North. They played one quarter against Essendon, which was great in the first quarter, then fell away. West Coast 1 quarter, fell away, and then North Melbourne, the second and third quarters was just embarrassing football from them. So Brownie's going to touch on their game style and their system, which has got Michael Voss under pressure.
Yep. And when you mention those second and third quarters, North Melbourne only scored 1 goal in the first quarter and did not score in the last quarter. So it just goes to show where the damage was done in the particular game. But Michael Voss used a word that coaches rarely offer publicly about their own team to describe what happened yesterday.
But the reality is, when you don't have things your way, you've still got to find ways to be able to how to generate that, or shut the game down for periods of time. And we've done it for small periods throughout the season. But today, you know, North Melbourne were too good, and they were much too good around the contest for us. And you know, across the game, I felt like for a middle 2 patch there, they probably bullied us.
So there's 9 matches remaining of this particular season. Let's just go back to what happened at the corresponding stage of last season. The Blues were second on the ladder. It's hard to believe that this club was second on the ladder at this time last year. And then beyond that point, they only had wins against West Coast and North Melbourne. You get to this particular stage of this season and you can see the wins that they've had this year. Again, West Coast amongst it. North Melbourne, they beat on Good Friday, lost yesterday. St Kilda Essendon. The outlier there on that form they've now displayed, TJ, in the past 12 months is the win against Geelong early in this season, when they started really slowly and then got the Cats in round 5 or 6. So it's been a torrid time for that footy club. Now, just factually and contractually, Michael Voss is there for 2026, but there is, as we know, Rory, a new incoming CEO by the name of Graham Wright, who is, I've dubbed him the agent of change. He did that at Collingwood. He identified Sam Mitchell before going down the Craig McRae path, and I feel he'll be looking at everything to do with this particular footy club, including, Lordo, some big-name players who are under locked contract for some time. In the form of Charlie Curnow, I think is a major worry. Harry Mackay's injured and has issues too, TJ, and even Sam Walsh. Other media have been reporting that he, despite being contracted, could be on the lookout.
OK, well, let's stick with Michael Voss for a moment. You're on 9 News last night saying you think he will go until the end of the year.
Yes, and then it's a question, Damo, for whether he coaches next year. What do you think?
Yeah, look, he's got 9 matches remaining, and just mathematically, let's deal with what's in front of us. If he wins 7, he's going to be in the conversation for the finals. Now, the form they displayed yesterday, that is not going to happen, but let's see how that does unfold. But if they do fall short, I do feel, and I think he's been around the system long enough to know that these things are looked at.
OK, so who's out there? John Longmire?
I don't feel John Longmire is being considered by other footy clubs as being ready to jump straight back in 1 year after the grand final issue of last year, which was ultimately the reason he stood down. But Adam Simpson is making noises of a nature that he's more ready. But I think we're jumping the gun a little bit. I'm with Lordo, TJ. I think he's still got this season to sort out what it is before they even go down that path. But we just know that Graham Wright's not going to come in and just accept what has now happened for the best part of 12 months.
How do you see it, Nath?
Well, there's just no dare with the way they move the football. It's slow and it must frustrate Carlton supporters. It frustrated me watching it yesterday. So this is on the wing. They've turned the ball over and they need to start going quick. Look at all this space that they could be running into here, but they go sideways. So then Paddy Cripps does go sideways. They go sideways a lot. Now this is the kick. So you look at Ollie Hollands. He goes, there's players in the middle here. Geelong, Brisbane, Collingwood, they hit that ball in the middle and then you're kicking to a one-on-one. But Carlton go slow, they go sideways and they just lock themselves in the back end. Again, Wiedering here. He has a look. He has a look up. He looks forward. Have a look at all the players with their back and nobody's moving. This is where you want to get the ball. That 55 to 60 metre out sweet spot. Jacob Wiedering looks back. Again, there's hardly any movement. He has to go sideways. He goes sideways to the boundary line. Again, they get the ball back in a really good winning position. Look at all the players with their back to goal, and there is zero movement here. So where's Doherty meant to go? When that many players are standing there, not doing anything, not leading up the football, he has to go sideways, and eventually they give this footy up in the middle of the ground. So I just don't know where Doherty's meant to go. There's 8 players there, not even looking at Sam Doherty. So he goes sideways. They give this footy up. All of a sudden, they're in an attacking position. They're back into the middle. This is really good. This is the way they need to move the ball. McGovern gets it, looks inboard quickly, and then they've got a runner. So that's unbelievable. That is the way they want to play. But then they slow it up again. They get the ball here. Have a look at that. You've got a player here you can move it to. You've got a player on the outside to give it to, but you want to kick it to quickly. Use your space ahead of you. Use your legs drive. You've got 2 players to kick it to. You can get straight back to North Melbourne. And again, they get the ball on the wing. Sard, probably their quickest player, gets the footy there. He needs to be taking ground. He needs to be getting the ball through here, run and carry. What he does is a simple handball to somebody who's just on as much pressure. They go into the middle of the ground, turn it over. So their ball movement, they only kicked 1 behind in that second quarter. It's non-existent. There's no dare at the moment.
OK, well, there needs to be dare because let's have a look at what they've got coming now. And we will get to North Melbourne and just how they managed to do it in a tick. But that's their run home. Now, Damo, you were saying, what, they need 7 of those?
Yeah, 7 will get them to 14 wins, TJ, and that is usually enough in a 23-match season over 24
Can you see 7 there?
No, I can't. No, I don't think anyone can. And I think they're being delusional to think that it's just going to be click finger sort of stuff, TJ, and to think that they will get 7.
Brownie's covered a fair bit of this, but the most obvious thing in football is you've got to be able to use it well. You can't kick, you can't play, and Carlton's fundamental. So if that's Scott Pendlebury or Steele side bottom, they will go towards the player, draw him and give the hands, and then that's a handball to Williams and then a handball over the top. He just kicks it in the man on the muck. So they were coming hard. They had 14 more entries yesterday, the Blues, than North Melbourne. So here's Hollands. So he's got that over the top, that over the top. You're running into an open goal. But look at that, just kicking around corners. So it's the fundamentals that are killing Carlton as well. They just cannot hit a target. And Chera's been a disappointment. He was disappointing. And yes, you just spot that up, you're having a shot for goal. So they lose by 11 points in a game of football where, yes, they were chasing their tail late, but the fundamentals of the game and their foot skills and the basic foot skills are just really poor at Carlton.
Well, no wonder Charlie Curnow can't get into the game with their ball movement going sideways and slow. And then with skill errors like that, it's tough as a forward to come into the game, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you that he is not being helped. And Toby Pink, who did a wonderful job yesterday, is helped by the way the ball is used at Carlton. But I just feel that no matter what team you're in, you fight and scrap for everything. And once the ball hits the ground and Charlie doesn't mark it, he pretty much just, you know what he's averaging? 0.9 of a tackle through 12 rounds, 13 rounds. So he pretty much is non-existent. So I want to see a bit more fight. I've questioned Charlie.
You've been talking about that for 2 years.
I have. I've questioned his finals record. So he gets outmarked a lot and he just gives up. When the ball hits the ground, he's giving up. So I just think for someone, you find out more about people when teams aren't going too well. And we're finding a little bit about him that he doesn't fight hard enough when he needs to.
He's only got the 27 goals to this season. I know the role he plays, Lordo, it's wider than just the goals returned. But when you line that up with Jeremy Cameron, who's got 48 to the same stage of this season, he's a mile off being the best that he once was.
But you see the ball movement then and the type of kicks that are coming in.
But he does not move like Jeremy Cameron and Jesse Hogan do.
Now, Rory,
we've got to get
North Melbourne supporters are at home screaming at the moment saying, what about us? We won.
Damo's been kicking me under the table going, just talk about how tough North Melbourne were. And they were tough. And this is a side we hadn't seen until the last couple of weeks. They showed glimpses of this against Freo. But look at the tackle pressure. They're at them. They're up in their face. There was body hits. There was real intent and nastiness. I would dare say Damo, a little bit of shin bone of spirit came back into this game.
Let's not get too carried away.
They set a standard last week and they've gone on with that standard this week. Yes, they had a poor last quarter where they got dominated, so that's still happening within games, but they've set a standard and they can't go back from this. This is the standard North Melbourne have to come with every week, and they'll win more games than they lose if they come with this.
Absolutely, and Clarko's spoken about, like, it starts with their contest. That's every team. It starts in the contest and pressure, but the aggressive nature which they've played the last couple of weeks is what Damo's loving about North Melbourne.
But also they need a 4-quarter effort, don't they?
The last quarter was appalling, like absolutely appalling. And when the siren went, Clarko was shattered, and he was shattered after the Richmond loss as well with how they finished that game. So they often say you start your next game how you finished your previous one, and they play Hawthorn in Tasmania this week, so we'll find out a lot more about them.
But the 8 weeks they've had since the debacle, TJ, on Good Friday has been very good from that club's perspective.
Oh, you are on board, aren't
No,
you?
just encapsulating it.
You are.
You're
you
not
are
hosting
on
their
board.
grand final breakfast, are you?
There's something coming. There's something coming. No doubt about that.